Hey guys, here at osmtxreviews.com. You're watching our video review of the Samsung Wave 525. The Samsung Wave series is not a phone lineup that Samsung is offering directly here in the United States. Instead, it's offered unlocked at Samsung.com, and you can pick up the Wave 525 series for around $200 online. The Wave 525 is also offered at various carriers, but it's again in European and other countries around the world, such as in Portugal, and you can pick that up with a contract. But again, it's not on AT&T or T-Mobile. So of course, since this is an unlocked product, it's going to be a GSM product, so it's not going to work with Verizon or Sprint service. It works with a full SIM card, so not a micro SIM card. And your SIM card as well as your micro SD card are both found beneath the back cover of the device, but you don't have to remove the battery in order to access those card slots, which means you don't have to turn the phone off to swap out SIM cards, which is a great feature. The Wave 525 is a pretty generic product, and judging by the fact that it only costs $200 unlocked, you can bet that it definitely falls into the cheaper category of smartphones. What makes the Wave series so unique is that it runs on Samsung's own operating system called Bada OS. Now, it may look really similar to Android OS, but really it's a fusion between Android and Symbian without as much app support currently at the moment, because it's just a starting up platform. With those things in mind, it still is a very unique user interface, and Samsung has done a really good job of making it smooth and elegant. And although it's not quite up to the level of customization of Android, it does have a lot of productivity and connectivity options that still make it a compelling platform. And again, it's going to make you stand out from the crowd because it's not a traditional or a very, very super popular platform that you see every day in cell phones. The device itself is very generic in design. It's just a candy bar form factor. On the top of the device, you have the Samsung logo and a earpiece for calling people. And beneath that, you have the LCD display. This is a 3.1-inch TFT capacitive multi-touch enabled touchscreen, so you can zoom in and out of web pages easily. It also has an accelerometer to help you with that, and you'll see that in a moment. Unfortunately, the resolution on here isn't the best, but color saturation is pretty good. And beneath the touchscreen itself, we have access to a menu key as well as a home, also doubles as a end key and a talk key. All of these buttons are tactile, easy to press, but they are not backlit, so you won't be able to see them in darker conditions. Again, the design of this phone is very uninspiring because it's a very budget smartphone. Probably the most interesting aspect of this phone is the ability to buy this in pink, as you can see here. It also comes in black and white, which are more generic models, but again, the color scheme here is probably the most unique thing about this model in particular. A few notable features here is that you can see there's no front-facing camera, so you can't make video calls with your friends or family members. There's also no ambient light sensor, which is a pretty big surprise for me. That means you have to adjust the screen brightness from the settings, and you can't manually let the system do that. So Samsung cut costs there in order to make the price lower. You can see it's a very slim device. It feels very solid in the hand. It's made entirely out of plastic, but it has a nice weight to it. There's a nice silver trim on it. On the left-hand side, you have a volume rocker. On the bottom, just a microphone and pry hole for the back cover. On the right-hand side, we have the on-off switch, as well as a camera shutter key. And on the back, you have access to that lonely 3.2 megapixel camera. It's a decent camera, but nothing too spectacular. There's a Samsung logo, a textured back, and a very, very good speaker on the back as well. So to turn on the device, you just press the on-off key, and in order to slide to unlock, you basically slide the screen up or left or right. It's a very free-moving screen. Again, you can see that. Just if you move it enough, you'll be unlocked. The home screen is also very interesting because if someone's calling you and you turn on the device, you can also there's also different functions here to just unlock in order to access your missed calls, and as well as when those become relevant. So it's a very cool unlock system that Samsung has implemented there. As you can see from the main menu, again, it looks really similar to Android, but if you look closely, you'll find that there's no menu key that takes you into the list of all your commonly used applications. And in order to access that, you have to press the center key right there, and that will bring you to your list view, a more traditional view, kind of like an iPhone, where you scroll through your popular applications. And directly from the menu here, it really resembles Android once again. You have multiple home screens. You can add more home screens or decrease the number of home screens depending on your customization level. And then you have the ability to add and remove widgets. You can always download more widgets or remove widgets if you want to do that. In order to add them, though, you don't, press and hold on the blank area of the screen. You have to press this dedicated widget button right there, and then it brings up your list of commonly or your downloaded widgets. You can always get more. If I'm interested in adding a widget like a satellite information widget here, I would just take that widget, hold it, and then drag it up. And it will go down. When I'm finished, I just press down. And you can see that it's a pretty intuitive interface system. It works pretty nicely. Very responsive display, so everything seems to be running pretty nicely. Again, the processor in here is around 500 megahertz, so it's not very fast either, but it seems to be doing the job quite nicely here. Also quite like Android is that there's a drop-down menu system. Pressing the top of the screen will access a bar that offers your notifications for Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and a silent mode for your ringtone. And you can also, again, adjust your airplane mode and stuff when those become relevant. There's also notifications as those become, again, used. And turning on these settings are very easy. You can turn them off again like that. This is a 3G handset, but Wi-Fi is still probably your fastest option, especially here in the US. So for browsing the web, it's a pretty cool feature that's included right out of the box. Other notable features on the bottom here, there are 3 commonly used applications that cannot be that are not changed even as you interact with the device. You can customize these 3 applications to your will. Right now they're set to keypad, contacts, and messages. But again, if I'm going through different menu systems, you see how these 3 applications remain consistent even as I'm moving through the operating system, which is pretty cool as well. Battery information and your time is also located on the top of the top right-hand corner of the phone. You can see the resolution here is pretty good, but the smallness of text definitely lack a little bit of detail that you might find from higher-end smartphones, which is a common theme with this product in general. So other notable features, let's run through those really fast. As a phone, it functions pretty well. We did find that the microphone that Samsung built in here wasn't as good as we hoped. It doesn't remove quite as much noise as we wanted it to remove. As a result, things were a little bit staticky, and as well as when we're talking to other people, they definitely noticed that we were using a cell phone rather than using a home phone. So cell phone quality, the microphone isn't the best. Thankfully though, the speaker is really, really solid. The speakerphone is also loud and it's 3-dimensional sounding, and it's a great aspect of this device. The sound system is great, but the microphone, again, takes a ding. And dialing people is fairly easy. You just dial their name there and you can see their contacts and you can either call them or send a message. So let's take a look at your other applications here in the menu drawer. Preloaded, you have basically your logs, your music, your files, your Memo Pad, your calendar, your camera, a clock, a calendar, a task, a video player, a voice recorder, settings, internet, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, IM, applications for more games, FM radio, social hub, email, and then of course these are a few applications downloaded from Samsung Apps, which is their proprietary app store. Loading apps are fairly good. If we load up this Ferrari game that we were doing here for racing, you'll find that it takes a little bit longer than on more faster devices out there with better processors. And you can see that loading a game definitely takes a strain on the processor. This phone can also multitask though, and it does so in a pretty easy manner. Let's just say we want to play this demo right now, and we have to wait a few seconds in order for it to think. But in order to access our list of multitasking applications, we basically press down on the home or the menu button for an extended period of time. So right now, if we just wanted to quick play, we could do that, and it has to load. In this meantime, if we press down on this key for, again, an extended period of time, we can see that this is our list of all open applications, our home screen, our widgets, and we can end all applications if we desire to do that. So let's close that up and return back to the home screen. You can see that the device automatically orientates itself depending on what view you are in for playing games and browsing the web. Let's take a brief look at the web browser right now. It's a pretty good web browser. It's an HTML-based web browser. It doesn't support all the Flash content, unfortunately, but it does play YouTube videos, which are good. It also loads the full versions of the pages, which is another great feature. So if we tilt the phone, we can show the accelerometer works pretty nicely. And if we wanted to press this key, we will be able to see our tabs, and it brings up our QWERTY keyboard. Now, since the screen on 3.1 inches is on the small side, you'll notice that on the normal portrait style keyboard, it's very cramped and hard to type on. Thankfully, you can again orientate this device to a horizontal view, and it makes it a lot easier. So if we want to go to like NewYorkTimes.com, we just press that, and then it loads like that. We can press it, and you'll see it loads fairly quickly. Right now it's going to load the mobile site first, but if we scroll down after it's fully done and press the full site, you will be able to have the option of viewing the full site. Again, the screen, you can see kind of the text is a little bit fuzzy at some points, not the highest resolution, of course, but it's still workable, definitely. And we can go and press View Desktop version, and that will load our full New York Times view instead of the mobile version. Let's wait for it to load, and I'll show you multi-touch on this device. So there we go. You can see that pictures and articles and text looks pretty good. So for some weird reason, though, Bada OS doesn't do a great job of optimizing text to fit the exact dimensions of the screen. But again, pinch to zoom and reflowing text after pinching seems to work pretty well. It just doesn't really column your text to make it the width of the screen size and take advantage of that. But let's just take a look around. Still working on this page. You can really see that the processor is struggling a bit more than if you were using, again, a faster device. So let's zoom on in. You can see how that works. Right now it's still struggling. New York Times is, of course, probably one of the most complex sites on the internet. It's a great site that you can use to test to see if your devices are up to par in terms of speed. And right now, this is probably an example of when it's not. So there we go. We finally got it able to work and to zoom at least a little bit, and now it's not working again. So when it isn't loaded, you can see how it fails to impress. But after it's loaded, it seems to work pretty nice. There we go. It's finally working good now, and now if we do this, it looks pretty nice, and it works pretty well as well. So in essence, the web browser works. It displays a full web content, and it actually optimizes things pretty nicely. But the only thing to watch out for is for speed and for optimization, because it isn't the fastest device out there. So taking a look at some other functions right now on this device. We also have access to YouTube, which actually is just a shortcut, I believe, to the YouTube page on using the web browser. And YouTube videos are surprisingly good. They're pretty good resolution. You can't watch HD videos, unfortunately, but it's very good. So if we wanted to just press a random video and we wanted to watch a little bit of it, it would load. Our Wi-Fi connection is very low right now. It's probably why it was a little bit slow before. And it will start loading and playing. Tilt the device, it will load in full screen mode. So there you go, and pressing it again allows you to see how it works. Again, the video resolution looks pretty good, pretty decent, good quality video. Definitely, it's not going to be super low resolution. Some devices offer terrible video rendering skills, such as the LG Crystal, which this device does a better job at overall. And that's pretty much it. You have in settings, you can adjust your manual settings. You have an FM radio on here, pretty self-explanatory. In applications, you have a few preloaded applications like Tumbling Dice, where you can use the accelerometer in order to roll dice and take a look at it. Some other neat tricks that Samsung has built in include in the gallery, you have the option of my files. If I go to that and check out my images, I can look at a few photos, and if I twist that to make it hopefully work. There we go. I can zoom in and out of these images using multi-touch, but most importantly, it also offers this very, very cool feature which allows me to actually tilt the phone in order to access my other photos. Like that, I can tilt it back and forth to view my different images. It's a very interesting way of interacting with your pictures and viewing them again and again, and I really like this feature. I'm wondering why other manufacturers aren't giving this feature, but it seems like it's a great way to interact with your product, and again, it's a very impressive customization that Samsung built in there. It's a tilt view. Other things are pretty standard in terms of music playback. Not a lot of features on here, but you do have the ability to actually access Adobe and set up Adobe 5.1 stereo sounding music on here. What you do is you plug in a pair of headphones, and then you can select that in the settings. So Adobe sounding music will always make the music quality a little bit more enhanced than usual, and it certainly works pretty nicely. It's a more three-dimensional, more real, if I may say so. It's a pretty good music experience overall. It shows your column, your cover art, and the such. Not too fancy, but it does the job nicely. So other features on here, let's show you the camera really quickly. If we wanted to take a clip and we want to take an image, you can see that the camera, it does a nice job. Samsung gives you a lot of different customization options, from the resolution to the settings to self timers and the such. There's no light, or there's no backlight in order to illuminate the object, so you can't use this at night, but it does a nice job nevertheless. Let's take an image, and you can see that it comes out pretty decent. It looks pretty nice as well. And you can also switch to video mode, which allows you to record video. And even without a micro SD card installed, you can record about 15-20 minutes of video in here. So it's a pretty good result. You can see the frame rate looks pretty nice. The colors are a little bit washed out, but it's to be expected from such a low resolution camera. But even with those things said, it's a pretty good camera. If you want to take some quick shots, it's not going to be HD quality again, but it's certainly usable and certainly good to have around in order to share with your friends and family. And a basic calculator also comes in here. You can also, again, use accelerometer to make it more complex and make it less complex. Additionally, you have a Memo Pad. During the Memo Pad, you can see that you can create new messages where you can utilize the different languages that you can select, from Spanish to Portuguese to Dutch to English, blah, blah, blah. You can also adjust more languages for keyboards inside the settings. It's pretty cool. So let's go back, and any last minute features I think I'm pretty much done with in terms of the functionality of this product. Overall, it's a very, it works pretty nicely. It certainly has its niche, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really stand out with other budget and ended Android devices. In my opinion, it seems to be. Of course, it has its own market, which is probably for people that want something that's definitely on a lower end of the scale. Samsung has done a really nice job with the customer of the UI interface. It's a very coherent interface, and it has a lot of cool tricks, like we talked about. Here's your App Store really quickly. You can see that you have your top new and free applications that you can take a look at, and you can download those immediately, and they're fairly quick as well. And of course, just for the price, $200 for an unlocked smartphone, it's a great deal in today's market. And especially if you want a device that is going to make you stand out with your friends and family, then the Bada OS and the Samsung Wave lineup of smartphones in general is a great option, a great choice to take a look at. But otherwise, this device, some drawbacks again are its more slow processor, because the sluggish processor will make things like browsing the web a little bit more sluggish. On the bright side of things, we talked about battery life is great. The camera is surprisingly good for only 3.2 megapixels, and the Wi-Fi signal is actually pretty strong for this smartphone. Right now, we are a long distance away from the router, so it's doing a pretty good job at that. And also, because it's unlocked, you can use it all over the world. And overall, it's very sleek, it's very customizable, it's very cute, has widgets, has all the popular applications you'd really want to interact with, and sound quality overall is pretty decent as well. So if those are the virtues that you're looking for in a smartphone, and you want to pay a pretty low, again, price, then Samsung Wave 525 could be the one for you, especially if you want to customize your device in a multitude of colors. So thanks for watching our brief video review of the Samsung Wave 525 series. If you want to read our full review, please visit osandvtxreviews.com. Thanks for watching.